All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. If you've been running AI models locally, you definitely know the sound. It's that crazy jet engine roar of your Workstation's graphics card just desperately trying to keep itself cool. Well, today we're looking at the absolute cheapest lever you can pull to shut that roaring GPU up, the thermal interface material. We're going to explore that critical, heat-conducting paste or pad sitting right between your GPU die and its heatsink.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, the cheapest cooling lever. Then, the pump-out problem. Third, the 24/7 champion. Next, traditional and reusable alternatives. Fifth, why you can't forget the pads. And finally, the bottom line.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the cheapest cooling lever.
You know, optimizing that tiny, microscopic layer of material between your GPU die and the heatsink, it actually pays back massively on sustained AI loads. But here's the catch. If you search the internet for the best thermal paste, you are literally going to get thousands of recommendations. So you might be wondering, why does standard gaming advice steer you completely wrong when it comes to picking a thermal material for an AI workstation?
Well, think about how a gaming GPU actually operates. It experiences these short, aggressive bursts of heat, like during an intense boss fight or a heavy loading screen, and then it just idles. Because of that, paste reviewers usually crown whatever product gives the absolute coldest temperature on day one of testing for those short, bursty workloads. But an inference GPU running local AI models? Totally different beast. It runs flat out, fully utilized, and incredibly hot continuously for hours, sometimes even days on end. It requires a completely different thermal strategy.
Moving on to Section 2, the pump-out problem.
So to get why that strategy is different, we really need to understand the physical toll that continuous punishing heat takes on your hardware. It's called pump out. Basically, as your GPU heats up and cools down, the materials physically expand and contract. Over thousands of cycles under continuous heavy load, this physical shifting slowly, literally pumps traditional paste right out from between the die and the heatsink, just squeezes it right out of there. And as that paste gets pushed out, it dries up, leaving behind microscopic dry air pockets. And air is a terrible conductor of heat. This is exactly why those pastes boasting the lowest day one temperatures dry out, causing your card's temps to creep up and throttle your performance month after month.
Because of this, we really have to flip our mindset. For a 24/7 rig, the question isn't what's coldest on day one, it's what stays cold for years under continuous heat. It's all about stability for the long haul.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 24/7 champion.
So, if traditional pastes just get pumped out by these intense heat cycles, what actually survives? Well, the absolute standout choice across the enthusiast community and in serious endurance testing is Honeywell PTM7950. The really cool thing here is that it's not actually a paste at all. It's a phase change material, or PCM, meaning it comes as a solid sheet at room temperature, but the magic happens right around 45 degrees Celsius. Right as your GPU starts working really hard, the material softens and melts into the absolute perfect optimized thin layer, making incredible contact between the hot silicon and the metal heatsink. And when you look at its characteristics, it's super easy to see why this is the undisputed champion. Because it actually changes phases. It resists that pump-out effect entirely. It is specifically engineered to survive thousands of those punishing heat cycles, making it the consensus top choice for 24/7 longevity. Now, I will say, there is a bit of a trade-off. It's kind of fiddly. Because it's a very delicate, thin sheet, you have to carefully cut it to the exact size of your GPU die, peel off this tricky plastic backing, and place it perfectly. But given that it's inexpensive, usually hovering around $13 or so, it's honestly the perfect repaste once and forget solution. You put this on your dedicated Inference GPU, and you likely won't ever have to crack that card open again.
All right, let's head into Section 4, traditional and reusable alternatives.
Look, cutting delicate phase change sheets isn't for everyone, and that's totally fine. If you just want a standard, squeeze-it-from-a-tube experience that is completely foolproof, Arctic MX6 is the pragmatic pick here. It's carbon-based and entirely non-conductive. That means if you accidentally squeeze out a little too much and it spills over the side of the GPU die onto those tiny surrounding microcomponents, no big deal. It won't short anything out. It performs beautifully, and it's known to last a solid 8 to 10 years. Super low risk, highly rewarding.
Now, if you're a bit of a brand loyalist and prefer a premium traditional paste with a stellar reputation for aging gracefully, Noctua's NTH2 is a fantastic, incredibly reliable choice. With Noctua, you're getting serious consistency from a company that just doesn't cut corners on thermal engineering.
But for the experienced PC builders out there, there is a fundamentally different approach to all of this, the Thermal Grizzly Cryo Sheet. This is a permanent, graphene-based thermal pad. It literally never dries out, and it never pumps out, which conceptually makes it absolutely perfect for continuous AI workloads. You buy it once, you place it, and it survives basically forever.
However, and this is a massive warning, so listen up. You absolutely must handle the cryo sheet with extreme caution. Why? Because graphene is electrically conductive. If this pad shifts even a millimeter or slightly overhangs the silicon die and touches those tiny surface-mounted components surrounding the GPU, the very second you turn on your machine, you will short-circuit and kill your extremely expensive graphics card. No joke. Precise placement is absolutely mandatory.
So, wrapping up the alternatives, how do you actually choose? Really, it comes down to your specific longevity needs and your comfort level with the install. Want the absolute best 24/7 longevity and don't mind a tricky install? Go with the Honeywell sheet. Want it easy and perfectly safe? Stick to Arctic or Noctua. Or are you a hardcore enthusiast who wants a permanent solution and accepts the electrical risk? Then the cryo sheet is calling your name.
Let's move to Section 5. Don't forget the pads.
Guys, there is a heavily overlooked detail here that you absolutely must address if you're taking the time to physically open up your graphics card. While the thermal paste handles the main GPU die, that is definitely not the only thing getting hot in there. Your power delivery stages, the VRMs, they take a massive amount of heat under a sustained AI load, and they use thermal pads, not paste. If you're already going through the trouble of taking the heatsink off, always refresh those power stage thermal pads. Just make absolutely sure you research your specific graphics card model first to buy the exact correct pad thickness. If you don't, your heatsink literally won't make proper contact when you screw the whole shebang back together.
Finally, Section 6. The bottom line.
Here's the stark reality of all this. Opening a graphics card carries physical risk, and it usually completely voids your warranty. So if your GPU is brand new and it's running cool, leave it alone. Seriously, the factory paste is perfectly fine for a good while. You should really only pull this thermal paste lever if you have an older card where you've noticed the temperatures slowly, steadily creeping up over the months, which, remember, is that classic sign of pump out we talked about, or if you're already doing a fresh teardown and just want to prep a card right out of the date for years of reliable 24/7 duty.
Fixing your thermal interface is undeniably important for AI workstations, but I want to leave you with one final, absolutely vital question to chew on. Upgrading your thermal material shaves off a few degrees, sure, but before you void your warranty and take a screwdriver to a $2,000 piece of hardware, have you pulled the much bigger, completely risk-free levers first? Like, have you looked into software tuning, maybe undervolting your GPU to restrict its power limit and just remove that systemic heat right at the source? Because honestly, that is exactly where you should always start your cooling journey. Think about it.